Perfect. Time for that to go on.
Hello, everybody. We'll give it 15 seconds. It takes time for the live stream to get to various internets areas that it needs to go to. So 5, 4, 3, 2. Are you ready to rumble? So welcome, everybody. Welcome to the revolution. Thank you for all the lovely comments that those of you have already added. Please share this so we can get more people to come hang out with us. I don't know about you, but I've been doing something to kind of check and just self-check to see that everything's normal, everything's cool. Each morning I wake up and I say, let's see, do we have a ridiculous show election going on? Check. Do we have billions of dollars being spent to actively manipulate the voting populace? Check. Do we have environmental destruction happening around the world, massive exploitation, and check. And then I'm like, oh, thank God, nothing's changed. And so
it's a really depressing morning.
No, I'm saying you realize everything's normal and all is well.
Normal, yes. Well, this is kind of the problem, right? The normal.
We've had normal creep. You've heard of mission creep? We've had normal creep into just fucking chaos.
You know, actually, this is a conversation that we've had this, and I've had this with other friends too. The adaptability of human beings is really phenomenal. It's kept us alive for so long, and now it's killing us, which is really kind of interesting. Our ability to adapt to the most fucked up situations, like climate change, like endless wars, like capitalism in and of itself, is killing us. And yet human beings continue to adapt to these more and more fucked up situations. It's really kind of interesting to see that arc of adaptability. Just
not only do we all have to walk around with masks on, but in some places in California and stuff, people are walking around with masks because of they can't breathe the smoke. I mean, I hope you guys are doing well if you're out there. But yeah, we do habituate and grow used to some very horrible shit. Right now I have my leg in a bear trap, and I continue to just act like this is normal life.
Well, that's your timeout.
We should give an update.
Thank you, Lori, for donating.
And we should give an update about where the super chats are going. So
I love that you all trust us enough that you're just like, I'm going to go ahead and donate because I know you're going to do something good with it. So appreciate that.
It's going to go somewhere good anyway. So for those of you who are new to our live streams each week, almost every week, thank you also,
thank you,
Dimitri.
And
Levon. Each week we donate all of the super chat proceeds, every single dollar. None of it goes to us. It goes to a cause each week. This week is the Julian Assange legal fund that Stella Morris, his partner, has created for his continued fight for freedom. It's at crowdjustice.com/case/Julian Assange. And they have 21 days left in that fund drive. And so we will be donating all the proceeds to that. And, we will talk a little bit about Assange in a few minutes, but we obviously covered him extensively and his trial extensively. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Well, we should talk about that as well, but we'll get to that in 1 minute. Why don't you highlight it? So, wow, these on StreamYard, they're quite intense.
I know that painting. Holy shit.
Christine.
Thank you so much.
Just gave $100, all the proceeds going to Julian Assange's legal fund. Thank you, Christine. That's incredible. But yeah, so we're going to do that. We're going to talk about what happened in the trial a little bit later. But we wanted to hit on some topical news that's on every channel right now, and then get to the redacted stuff, censored stuff that they're not fucking talking about, like Julian Assange. But we'll give our angle. But thank you, Maki, or Maki.
Thank you.
I like Maki.
I'm working on it. We're using a new streaming service, and I'm not familiar with it. Also, Lee's computer is set up so when you scroll down, you go up, and then when you scroll up, you go down. Like, what the fuck is this backwards?
Listen, man, you gotta see outside the box. You gotta live a different way. Thank you, Osama number 5, 1111.
Do you know what this reminds me of? Quick little random story here. There was a mentor of mine, audio engineering, he recorded David Bowie and Queen and all of this stuff in Trident Studios in England. And they were testing out a new console, and the new console was built by some guy that was like friends with the owner of the studio, and it's the only reason that they let him bring it in. But it was backwards. So folks might know that when you push a fader up, it makes it louder.
Thank you, David.
Thank you, and 13 Applejacks. And when you pull the fader down, it gets quieter. Thank you, Chuck.
Wow, $50 from Chuck. That's incredible.
But this was backwards, and the guy explained it that, well, I was thinking that, when you want the sound to be pushed away from you and quieter, you'd push the fader away. And when you want the sound to come towards you and get louder, you'd push the fader down towards you. This is what your computer reminds me of.
I think we've gotten a little far afield from where we wanted to be, but thank you, David, for $20. And so
Thank you, Lisa.
Multiple people have mentioned Eleanor's film, so I think we should discuss what happened with that recently. It got in, it's a semi-finalist in the Cannes Independent Film Festival.
Yes, it is. So that's super exciting. My film,
thank you, Chuck.
Hard Road of Hope, was nominated as a semi-finalist in the Cannes Independent International Film Festival. So
one of the many honors it has received. So
pretty cool.
Anyone who hasn't checked it out, it's about the corporate destruction of West Virginia, but it applies to the entirety of America, really. Thank you, longtime caller.
First time listener.
I love the name. That's incredible. So this is awesome. You guys are donating to Julian Assange's legal fund. I wanted to talk to begin with about it's on every CNN, everything. They're all flipping out right now about Trump's taxes have come out. New York Times reveals that Trump has not paid taxes 10 of the past 15 years. He's not paid federal taxes, and he has paid, the year he got into the presidency, he paid $750. So for those of you out there wondering, how much do the rich people pay while you all are paying, a third, sometimes a quarter of your income to taxes? What are the rich people paying? Well, there you go. Donald Trump is often paying zero, and he's lost billions of dollars. But you can get all that from CNN and MSNBC. The angle of it that you'll get from us that's not being talked about mostly on your mainstream media, probably at all, I'd be surprised if you found a mention, is that this is what you get when a system is fully morally bankrupt. When you get to late stage capitalism, late stage empire, when there's fucking no ethical core to it, you get to a point that it vomits up a leader like Donald Trump. Mm-hmm. And he is not an anomaly. Thank you, Dimitri. He is not an anomaly. He is the system. He represents the system. This is all of Wall Street is built on greed and exploitation and extracting the lives of your fellow man. And so Donald Trump, when he was questioned about this by Hillary Clinton, of all things, in the debate, she said, "You haven't paid taxes at all." He said, "That makes me smart." And in a way, he's right. This system is built on exploitation and avoiding paying in to the society that you then take advantage of.
Well, I was looking at Twitter before we started, and Chris Garaffa, who is a great commentator about tech issues and security and privacy, wrote, "Wait till you hear about Amazon. If you're mad about Trump's tax returns, wait till you hear about Amazon." And of course, that's the point, right? People are, the liberal media and the liberal Mick resistance are losing their goddamn minds about Trump's tax returns. And again, it's not to say that what Trump did is okay, that should be applauded or just, accepted, but it is the American way. Like, that is what our institutions do. And just the fact that over the course of this pandemic, each billionaire has become like at least $1 billion richer, when hundreds of thousands of people are desperately looking for, unemployment benefits, are trying to keep their apartments or their homes, are desperate for access to healthcare. And I think it's like the top 600 or something billionaires each got at least $1 billion richer. So that we can't just say
Melissa.
oh, this is, Trump's an asshole and he's the problem. Yeah, thank you, Melissa. yes, Trump is an asshole, and it's despicable what he does, how he gets money, but that is the American way. Like, that is what our entire country is built on.
Right. So it drives me nuts when people are like, well, you're defending Trump and you say it's okay. No, I'm not saying it's okay. I'm saying this is a corrupt, fucked up system that has vomited up a corrupt, fucked up man who is a con man, who is a grifter, who is a sociopath, but he is a symptom of the system. And this is the discussion that you cannot get on any of the mainstream media. You'll get CNN and MSNBC saying, isn't it horrible he doesn't pay taxes? Then you'll get Fox News saying, oh, well, maybe it's fake news or something. Which none of that is the core problem of a late stage capitalist system built on nothing but exploitation. Literally, those who can extract the most life and time and money out of their fellow humans are the winners in this fucking sick game.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what this has proved with this New York Times bombshell, which everyone's been waiting for. But I think people have known he's a con man and a grifter for years, right. And it hasn't stopped the people voting for him because they've been told that he's the answer to their problems. And, you know, he actually, in a weird way, pretends to care about a flawed media, a corrupt media. He'll call out corrupt bankers, even though he's lying his face off. Other politicians won't often do that. I mean, Biden's number one backer throughout his entire, 36 Senate career, has been credit companies and big banks. You know, Biden lives in Delaware, the tax haven of the country and the tax haven of many countries. Like, many people in other countries send their money to Delaware to not pay taxes. You don't think Biden has played any role in that?
Thank you, Chaos Agent. Yes, and
wow, $50. Thank you so much, Chaos Agent.
And the point that I had highlighted before this one, it's ridiculous that you even have to say that I'm not pro-Trump. Yes, it is absolutely ridiculous. But in this sort of binary system where people think that if you're saying some shit if you're saying some bad shit about Biden, then you must love Trump. Or if you're saying some bad shit about Trump, then you must love Biden. There's no room for anything but this binary bullshit perspective.
Which gets into vote shaming. You want to jump to that?
I would also like to respond to this comment by Chaos Agent.
I love it.
I mean, I've got a list. I've got a list of people that I'd like to see in a plastic box.
Thank you, George.
Leo.
Well, hold on. I want to mention this too. In my column on Julian Assange, which is at Consortium News, I mentioned the plastic box, and I say, in this show trial that is a third Kafka-esque, a third Joseph Heller, and a third Stalinist show trial, I think Kafka wins because Julian Assange is kept in a plastic container like a cockroach in a jar. So I think Kafka's winning this one.
And to answer the question, you can see my film over at hardroadofhope.com. So
it's pay what you can.
So yeah, what were you saying before I?
Oh no, I finished. You were going to move on to vote shaming.
Right. So vote shaming is so chic right now. And I'm sure folks have had it happen to them directly. If not, you've seen it happen online. And for some reason, I'm not really sure why everyone's hearkening back to the Jill Stein bullshit from 2016 or 2000. I don't even know.
Well, it's connected to the Supreme Court. So they're basically saying that the reason you're going to get a right-wing judge right now is because of Jill Stein.
So here's the thing. If you look, and somebody posted...
Which is the fucking...
Somebody posted a map of this the other day, but it was basically like, we should really find this guy did not vote because he is the most popular in the United States.
Did not vote
is
got a ton of
got
votes.
The majority of the votes. Basically, I think in 2016, something like 40-something% of eligible voters voted. And so the majority of eligible voters didn't fucking vote. So it's really like, it's amazing that people can say that somebody who took like, what was it, 2% or something? Somebody like Jill Stein.
Jill Stein took 2%. And when they've asked people who voted for her where they would have voted if not for her, it's like a third say Hillary, a third say Trump, and a third wouldn't have voted at all.
Thank you, Jane.
Thank you so much, Jane. $30. That's incredible.
Yes.
Donated to Julian Assange's legal fund.
And a beautiful quote there. Yeah, so, but of course, this goes back to that sort of binary thinking that, like, it has to be Democrats and Republicans, which my rebuttal has always been, if we have a democracy, hypothetically, like, you know, because we don't, but hypothetically, let's say that we did, then my vote doesn't belong to anybody. So this idea that you're stealing votes from Hillary or you're stealing votes from Biden presupposes that they own those votes. Which doesn't fucking, that's not how it works in a democracy or a republic or really any other form of government where the people are supposed to have a say in who is governing them. So that is the first problem. The second problem is, where is it decreed that there can only be two parties, or really one party that just has two different flavors to it?
Yeah.
Where is that decreed? Because there are so many countries around the world have a multi-party system. They have a parliamentary system, which means that if you get a certain percentage of the vote, then you get a seat in parliament, blah, 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 blah. But the US has this perspective that it must be this two-party system, which is really much closer to a monarchy than these other parliamentary systems, some of which still have a fucking royal family, which is so wild to me. Like, for instance, Sweden has a king and queen. They don't do fuck all. They like come out on midsummer dressed in weird clothes and they wave at people. But the Sweden technically still has a king and queen, but they have a parliamentary system. And then here in the United States, where we don't have a king and queen, we have a two-party system that's really a one-party system that is much more like a monarchy, like an absolute power system owned by corporations than other countries that still have a king and queen. So I mean, that's just very...
Well, and here's some things you should tell people to these. You should respond, how you should respond to these idiots with the vote shaming. Oh, we're getting a right-wing Supreme Court justice because you voted for Jill Stein. Okay. A, we already said that the Jill Stein votes would have been spread out evenly, so it wouldn't have changed anything. B, the media is far more to blame for Trump's election in 2016, and if he gets reelected for his reelection. They gave him 10 times as much coverage as Hillary Clinton during the election, and 23 times as much as Bernie Sanders. So if you want to blame someone, blame the media 100 times more than fucking Jill Stein voters. Thank you so much, Jay Palmer. $50. That's incredible. And so there's another big one. Third, blame the fucking DNC. If they hadn't rigged their own primary against Bernie Sanders would have beat Donald Trump, and you wouldn't be getting a right-wing judge right now. Okay, so there's another reason. And you can go down the list. And
also blame RBG for not stepping down.
For not stepping down under Obama, yeah. There's another one you can blame. But also, and I said this in my other video, but this is truly important. In this fucking fuckfest, my language is on the top of its game right now. In this fucking fuckfest, they're all saying, "Oh, horrible! The right-wing judge." The Democrats could stop the Supreme Court pick right now. They absolutely could. The House of Representatives, run by Democrats, are the ones who put forward charges of impeachment. If they do that, the Constitution says all other business has to stop. Well, they deal with it. If they were to put legitimate, wow, Phil, thank you so much. If they were to put legitimate charges against Donald Trump, not the horseshit Ukraine gate, not the horseshit conspiracy of Russia gate, but real legitimate charges against Trump, like the war crimes, like, the killing millions of innocent civilians, assassinating Iran's top general out of the blue, which put us on the edge of a massive war. I mean, you would go down the list of all the ways Trump has actually violated things, and you could stop the Supreme Court pick and impeach him for those crimes. But they're not going to do that. The Democrats would never do that because they're involved in all that shit. They're high-fiving Trump for bombing other countries and economic sanctions that have killed hundreds of thousands in Venezuela and Iran. I mean, it's just fucking incredible that they have the nerve to say, "Oh, look at what happened because you voted for Jill Stein."
Yeah. Well, and I thank you so much, Carol.
Thank you, Carol. $20. You guys are being incredible. This is we'll let you know how much is raised next week. By the way, we ended up with over $400 for the PSL legal fund last week, which the PSL members helped organize the peaceful protest in Denver. They were arrested in SWAT-style raids for peaceful protest. Yeah, organizing peaceful protests and charged with things like terrorist kidnapping and shit. So that will go a lot to help their legal fund.
And one final one final thing on vote shaming. So this idea that sorry, hold on,
Corona.
It's probably a hair. That happens to me a lot. So the thing with vote shaming is that I didn't vote in 2000. I was too young, but I remember back in 2000 people saying this is the most important election of the modern age, and we have to ensure that Bush doesn't get elected, and put your like ethics or morals to the side. This is about harm reduction. This is about making sure that we can live to fight another day, and that's when you can be progressive, folks. So that was 20 years ago. And today we have the same fucking argument. So we've had 20 years of the lesser of two evils, because and it's not really, because the Democrats are now the Republicans. So it's just evil and, diet evil. I don't even know. The blue MAGA hat and the red MAGA hat. Like, what color dumpster fire would you like? The blue one or the red one? So we've had 20 years of this shit of trying to shame people into voting because this is the most important election of our time. Fuck you, bullshit, it's not. The elections are a farce because we don't have legitimate democratic elections. And the idea that this is the most important election of our time completely ignores the fact that these people are incredibly similar, and their policies are incredibly similar.
Wow, $50. Thank you, John.
Thank you so much. And the realities on the ground between Biden and Trump will be very, very similar. So don't let them.
Oops.
What oops?
Are
we still live?
There we go.
Oh, okay. Don't say oops in the middle of a live stream. It makes me nervous. Thank you so much, John. Yeah. Saw your show twice in LA. It'd be nice to do that at some point again.
Yeah, it would be nice to have the live crowd again. I do miss it. So yeah, feel free to throw up topics that you want us to cover or talk about here on the live stream. I suppose we can get into some Assange stuff. Shall we do that?
Sure. First of all, I just want to highlight this. MC, if voting is broken and protests don't work, what can anyone do to change anything? Protests do work. It's just that it's not a.
Thank you, Matthew.
It's not a one-to-one. So it's not like you go protest and then something good happens. For instance, the TPP, the Trans-Pacific Partnership, would absolutely, and this ties in with Assange, would absolutely be a reality today if it weren't for the fact that WikiLeaks had published the details of this horrific trade deal.
And I mentioned that also because one of the biggest protesters against it was Kevin Zeese, a friend who passed away recently. And, he and Margaret Flowers and many others have proven that creative protests, that is unique, that gets media coverage, that it can definitely have an impact, a far greater impact than just voting. I always say vote. I want people to have their vote count. I believe in democracy, but voting should be a small portion of it. So protest is very powerful.
Right. So basically what happened with the TPP is that folks like Kevin and, folks from Popular Resistance, Kevin and Margaret, thank you so much, Dimitri, organized and fought against the Trans-Pacific Partnership, and we won, we being the people. And so I think it's, and people might say, oh, we still have capitalism. We still have, thank you, Pirate Ray. We still have like these oppressive systems. Right. Of course. It's not a one-to-one. It's not going to be a simple, we go out and protest and then we get everything we want. This is really it's a long-term game. And this is something that we talked about in our mutual aid circles when the pandemic first hit. Like, look, if you're thinking that this is going to be a sprint and we get to the finish line, we're like, yeah, we beat them. whoever they are in this scenario, then that's not going to happen, right? Building an alternative to the oppressive system, which I think is really the best way to deal with it. It's not about overthrowing the government. It's about making them obsolete. So building alternatives, really having this communal mutual aid, this municipalism or communalism or whatever you want to call it, to build real alternatives so that the people can take care of the people. That is a long-term game. And protests are a tactic like that. Community self-defense is another tactic, like what the Black Panthers did, Zapatista's American Indian movement. There are so many examples that have been successful in their own ways against the oppression of the state. But A, we're not taught about them. And B, they aren't always considered successful.
Thank you, Marie Ann.
They aren't always considered successful because we still have this oppressive system, right? But, for instance, let's look at the labor rights movement. Let's look at the fact that, kids don't work in coal mines anymore. Like, that is because people went out and fucking protest and demanded some basic human rights. So I think we can look at the radical past. We can look at the people who came before us and sort of carved a path. And then we can see all of the emergent paths that we can carve on our own from those paths. If that's not too meta, turtles all the way down, paths all the way down.
Yeah, but and what you're speaking to is there are paths forward. They're not necessarily concrete. It's not that we step A, step B, step C, and then new economic system. But when economic systems have altered across the human times, the length of humanity, they began bubbling up around the edges of what already existed. So, for example, thank you so much, Claire. $25. That's incredible. All proceeds going to the Julian Assange Legal Fund. So, for example, in the feudal system, the capitalism began in the small encampments in the woods that were not allowed or legal or whatever. They were out there, and it started. They were using some sort of form of currency, and it grew around the existing system, and then ultimately took it over. Thank you, Nick.
Thank you, Nick.
And so I think it's very similar with what we're doing now. You need to show small examples of a path forward. And there are many people doing that, and many people showing how the world could work. I think one of them is mutual aid. And someone mentioned Peter Joseph. Peter Joseph's Zeitgeist movement, if you read his books, are an incredible idea for a economic system beyond capitalism. And so I think it's about coming up with those ideas and sharing them and spreading them. And you've got to work at the same time to inform people in order to undermine the existing entrenched fucking like a goddamn bad tooth that's just dug in and rotten, and it's so entrenched that you have to inform people so that they can slowly pick away at it and decrease the power of these institutions. So
I want to respond to this real quick. Hold on.
I wasn't gonna.
Mine, my clicker. So Unknown X.
Thank you, BK Bland.
This is a big topic and a very, very important one. And for those who can't see that, can you discuss civil disobedience strategies in a surveillance and police state?
Thank you, Rob. Thank you, Judith.
So yeah, basically, I'll just really quick say that definitely get encryption software. So Signal. Don't talk about things on Facebook. Don't talk about things via Gmail or regular text, particularly if you're talking about civil disobedience or something that might be risking arrest.
Thank you so much, DID. $50. That's incredible.
So Nick, thank you. Great video quality. That's on you. You found the new.
I've actually also had my face put into high def. I went and saw a doctor. He does great work.
Scrubbed off the pixelation.
Yeah, he takes the pixels and he smooths them out. Yes, well, I think switching to StreamYard was good, and yes, we have an Ethernet cord. We're doing the things.
And we are donating to Julian Assange's legal fund today. So thank you for donating before you knew. I love the trust. Thank you, Rob and Judith.
Wow, and these amounts are incredible, you guys.
Yeah.
$25, $50.
Thank you so much.
But we will take $1.99. There you go.
Yes.
To answer your question, I know Caleb, but friends would imply we hang out or something. I've met him.
So with again, definitely and these are free apps. It's not like you have to pay to get Signal, but definitely talk about things on Signal. I also recommend if you're having, oh look, I have props. If you're having like a meeting, like something that we do when we have mutual aid meetings is that we'll use a Faraday bag, which blocks the signal,
thank you, Nick.
Which will block the signal from your phones. So if you're sitting around and having sweet. If you're sitting around and having a conversation, you can put your phones in a Faraday bag, and that way the signal won't get to them. But yeah, so there is a lot of, I think if you look up online, how to like security during protests or something like that. One thing is also, if you're live streaming, definitely avoid including people's faces or even features like tattoos and things like that, because people have been, the FBI and law enforcement have been scrolling through live streams in order to access.
I made that mistake with the porn I filmed.
Yeah, so you got to be careful.
I wore the mask, and then they were like, "Your tattoos are very obvious."
Yeah, so safety first.
Yeah.
In many aspects on the porn front, I guess. but yeah, and there's
always wear a face shield.
Always. There's a lot written about this, and I think somebody like, Chris Garaffa, who I mentioned earlier, who's a tech expert, probably has much more on this and much more eloquent, because he's not reading through a bunch of messages while he's trying to share this information. But yes, it's super important to be safe and to avoid not just putting yourself at risk or in danger, but trying to mitigate the amount of risk that you bring to your community members and your fellow activists or protesters or what have you.
Damn straight. Yeah, there are a lot of ways to protect yourself. But, part of the way that they get at people is convenience. It's just some of this stuff takes effort, and they know that. And so most people aren't going to do it because it's not convenient. So that's part of the problem.
I mean, a Signal.
Thank you, Juliet. $30.
Signal is just like a text app. It's not inconvenient.
No, Signal's fine. Other stuff like VPN. You get a VPN, it takes a second longer to load, and it's that kind of thing. Anyway.
Anywho.
Now can I talk a little about the Assange trial?
Yes.
So for those of you who haven't been paying attention, I'm not going to spend too long on it because I think there's a lot of other places that have been doing in-depth coverage about Assange. But some things that came up in the past week. First of all, the judge said the decision will not be until 2021. So do not expect her to give any kind of result until then. But that's hilarious that she says the decision is in 2021, considering at every point she has rushed the defense, which is what the prosecution wants, rushed them into not allowing witnesses to give their full testimony. After arguing, she agreed to 30 minutes per witness, which normally the witness should have as long as needed. She has just pushed them. The superseding indictments weren't given to the defense until days before this trial. And then Julian Assange didn't get to see him at all. He only got to meet with his lawyers once in 6 months preceding this trial. It's just been at every stage they're rushing them and making sure the defense cannot prepare as accurately and legitimately and well as they should be able to. And then she says, but don't worry, I won't have my decision until 2021. So to me, it just goes along with how much of a fucking scam kangaroo court shit show this is.
Thank you, Naz.
And that's one of the reasons we're donating all of these proceeds to Julian Assange's legal fund. Another thing that has come out this week is there was a lot about Julian Assange's mental health, where basically they were trying to argue that the prosecution was trying to argue that he was never very depressed and that he would not be suicidal. And the prosecution was saying that there are some signs that he would be suicidal if he were going to be extradited. And I mean, my point was just like, how fucked up is it that our prison system and this whole system is so awful that people regularly kill themselves rather than go through it, rather than be locked away in our horrific prisons. And this discussion as to whether he gets extradited or not comes down to whether he's going to take his life. I mean, to me, that says it all. It doesn't matter whether the answer is yes or no. It's like that says everything you need to know about how fucking horrific this process has been, how fucking horrific our prisons have been. And in fact, a hacktivist a few years ago was not extradited. I believe it was Larry Love, was not extradited from England because they said, well, you know what? U.S. prisons are so horrific that we can't extradite him to the U.S. So, you know, you can see why that's a legitimate complaint, but it's just, what a fucking shit show on all levels.
Absolutely.
And then, of course, the prosecution has tried to undermine every witness, tried to say that they're not legit, tried to say that they're biased. That's really all the prosecution's been doing. And another point that I want to go over real quick, if it's cool.
Please.
Is that a lot of people have said that WikiLeaks and Julian Assange released the State Department cables unredacted and uncensored, and that's why he needs to be punished, or he needs to be locked away in a U.S. prison, is because he released them unredacted. And in fact, what we learned in this trial is the timeline. It was not Julian Assange and WikiLeaks that released the cables without names, important names, you know, of people that could be at risk, without those redacted. It was actually Guardian columnists, a Guardian editor. Basically, the WikiLeaks site was mirrored. It's called mirroring, when you duplicate a site, and they had asked other sites to do that because they were under a DDoS attack. And the mirrored site had encrypted files on them. Now, no one can read them without the encryption key. They are fully covered up. But then these fucking Guardian idiots put out a book where they release in the title of a chapter and in the writing the encryption key, because they thought it didn't matter anymore. So now you have, the whole world has this encryption key. The mirrored sites cannot be shut down. WikiLeaks is not capable of hiding them. And so all someone had to do was go to the mirrored sites, use the encryption key, and they got all the State Department cables without the slight name redactions. So thank you so much for the donations, by the way. Thank you, Charlie. Thank you, Nays. Thank you, everybody. And so it was not Julian Assange. It was Guardian editors. And are they in prison right now? No. Is the U.S. seeking to extradite these Guardian editors? No. They have no interest in any of them. They haven't even told the sites that have the unredacted cables up to take them down. So it's just making an example of Julian Assange that is really the goal of our U.S. Fucking horrific government. And the last thing I just want to say about this is, you'd think the Guardian, after doing all this, after being responsible for some of the charges against Assange, or accusations, you'd think they'd do some covering of this fucking trial. But no, they've hardly mentioned it. The Guardian has had a few mentions here and there. They are as sold out as anyone, and they're more responsible than most for Julian Assange's situation.
Thank you, Solomon. Thank you, everybody, for the donations. If you're just joining us, the donations tonight are all going to Julian Assange's legal fund. If you're on Facebook, head over to youtube.com/momentofclarity, and you can, right where you put your comment, you can click on the $sign and put some money in there for Assange's legal fund.
Can I address a troll?
Maybe.
So Troll Leo would like to say, thank you, Casey. Would like to say, Putin admires WikiLeaks.
Thank you, Fubar.
And this is part of this, crap propaganda that's been put out that Julian Assange never published anything against Russia. And it's not true. WikiLeaks has actually put out a lot of information about Russia and about various oligarchs, and it revealed a variety of things. You can go to WikiLeaks right now, type in the word Russia, and you'll find some shit. They've also done it about a lot of other governments, Australia, Peru, China. It's not just the U.S. But people love to run around and say, Julian Assange was working with Russia and he didn't publish anything against Russia. It's not true. Julian Assange has always said he's a proponent of transparency in governments. It doesn't matter which government they are. So so this horse shit, they're like, oh, Putin loves Assange and all. I mean, it's a combination of the Russiagate and neo-McCarthyism with fake accusations against Assange, and it's really truly pathetic. But okay, Leo says he's not a troll, but anyway, he's wrong.
Okay. Well, that aside, folks, I'm seeing some comments that say people can't donate. That's totally cool. If you can share this, though, give it a like, share it on Twitter, on Facebook, etc. Just let folks know where to find it so we can get as much money donated for Julian's defense as possible. So, yeah, what are we doing next?
I thought you were next to come up with a topic. It was definitely your turn. I mean, it was my turn, then your turn, then my turn, then now your turn.
Okay.
We're gonna talk about capitalism.
Yes.
And the
So the Guardian. Speaking of the Guardian.
Yeah, it's funny that this is a Guardian article, but they're not the ones that did it. They just happen to be reporting on this.
But so the Guardian released a whoa.
Holy shit.
Thank you.
So everyone should know this. Nays, I did an interview with Nays this week. It's called Nays Garden. You can look it up online. Nays, go ahead and put a comment with your link so people can find the interview. But $300 donated to Julian's legal fund.
Yeah,
That's
thank you so much.
Incredible.
And thank you, Norma Ray. Yes, it is incredible. The media that profited from information that Julian provided is not behind him, but that is so the media. Thank you.
Lil.
That's Norwegian crowns.
I'm down with some crowns.
You're down with some crowns?
Yeah.
Okay. What was I gonna say? Okay, right. So the Guardian released an article that said that in England, anti-capitalist teaching is being compared to endorsing illegal activity. So it's being pulled from schools because clearly teaching anti-capitalism is the same as telling someone to be a criminal.
So basically anything that comes from an organization that could be conceived as anti-capitalist is not allowed, they're saying, at the Department of Education in the UK. And the idea that you need to stop even debate, even discussion about the economic system that runs our world is so laughable. It's so, I mean, this is a level of censorship that's truly mind-blowing.
Well, and here's the other thing that, and I love this. This is something that Richard Wolff pointed out when I spoke with him, because he's an economist and he's also a professor, and he said that the idea, and he's a socialist economist. He said the idea that the only thing that they teach you in higher education when you take an economics course is capitalism would be like going to school and getting a taking religious studies classes, but all they teach you is Protestantism or Catholicism or something, which is just so fucked, right? Like, you'd be like, this isn't religious studies, this is a religious study. And it's the same thing, the idea that we would have to run our world via capitalism, such an incredibly destructive system that is purely based on profit and endless growth on a finite planet. That's fucking insane. And then to say that teaching somebody that there are alternatives, that anti-capitalism is the only way forward, or fuck that, even if you didn't say anything that true, even if you were just like, hey, there's an alternative to capitalism, let's check it out. The idea that that's synonymous.
Thank you, Nick.
The idea that that's synonymous with illegal activity, which is the other thing here that is underlying this, or not even underlying, it's not subtle at all, but the idea that anti-capitalist protesters, that anti-capitalist organizers, even something like mutual aid, like Food Not Bombs or something, that they are, criminals. That's the message here, that anti-capitalists are criminals that are trying to fuck up the world for, I guess, our own benefit. I don't know. Those evil anti-capitalists trying to make sure that our kids have fresh water and air. But that's the message here, that kids need to be taught that anti-capitalists are the demons, are the enemy.
And I mean, with anything, there should be like debate should be allowable. This is like people saying, well, we will not, we will only teach creationism and we won't allow talk of evolution in schools. I mean, this is not any different than that. It's
Thank you, Christine.
Utter insanity to not allow a discussion as to whether, because here's the thing is, capitalism is not supposed to be a religion. It's supposed to be an economic system that you discuss and decide whether it's working for people and whether it's actually facilitating growth for humanity. It's not meant to be something that everyone gets down on the goddamn knees and just goes, oh, holy capitalism. And yet, as you know, as Richard Wolff talks about, he says in a lot of, because he's actually a, I think, Harvard trained economist. He said a lot of the most elite schools in the U.S., they won't even allow a teacher that doesn't worship at the throne of capitalism. The discussion cannot be had because apparently they're so afraid that if you actually had a debate about these things, the capitalists lose. They lose the debate. And so they can't discuss it because if they do, they lose.
And to respond to Nick's question here, what happens after the election? Well, my crystal ball is looking pretty fucking dark, but
I have some theories.
A mass fallout. Well, first, I mean, I can't say what each side or non-voters are going to do because I don't see it necessarily as sides in terms of like Democrats and Republicans. It's basically like we the people and then the oligarchs. But I think in terms of like what people are going to do, I think it does depend. I think that if Trump wins, there will be massive protests, and I think that there will be massive blowback against that. I think that if Biden wins, I think unfortunately a lot of people are going to do what they said they were going to do if Hillary won, and that's go to fucking brunch. And this is a big problem with the guys.
You mean give up fighting?
This is the problem with this is a huge problem with the guise of a two-party system as if they were two separate parties, right? Is the idea that if Biden is in office, we're good. I can go to brunch. I don't have to care. It's going to be taken care of because the Democrats have it, right? Which is a fucking absurd because the life on the ground is not going to change. There's still going to be kids in cages. There's still going to be war. There's still going to be environmental destruction. There's still going to be the systemic racism and the murder of Black and brown folks willy-nilly. So the idea that people can turn around and go home if Biden wins is something that a lot of organizers on the ground right now are trying to work with and trying to figure out how are we going to respond to ensure that people don't feel like it's okay to turn around and go home. So what are your thoughts?
Well, I was going to give some details on, I agree with everything that you said, but I was going to give some details on how I think this will go down. I mean, Trump is trying to tell everyone that the vote is not going to be legit. And so really all he needs is chaos on the night of, because then he will, say it's not a legit vote. This is if he's losing. If he's winning, then he'll say it's legit. But he'll say it's not a legit vote, and if he's losing, and that's all he really needs. Because at that point, it will become this fucking fight in the courts and on the airwaves, and he'll call it all fake news. And here's the thing: is like the Democrats have allowed or set this up in a variety of ways. One way is by rigging their own primaries and allowing a completely horrible voting system to persist because it was useful to them. It's been useful to them in the primaries. And they've allowed this. I mean, you never hear them mention interstate cross-check, which is less powerful in this coming election, but in the last one purged millions of voters from the rolls. People are being purged in a ton of ways outside of just interstate crosscheck. And the Democrats, they mention voter suppression here and there, but they don't really talk about it because they want people to think this is a legit system so that you'll keep thinking that their primaries that they rig are working fine. And then the Democrats also back down in all these fights, like with Al Gore in 2000, and with the Supreme Court justice that I just told you. The Democrats could, if they wanted to, stop this Supreme Court justice from going through, but they won't. And the reason they back down from all these fights is because at the heart of it, the vast majority of the Democrats in Congress, 90-some%, are corporate elite, just like Donald Trump and the Republicans. So at the end of the day, they just want to stop. They just want to stop the actual progressive, side of things, the actual leftist side of things. They more worried that Bernie Sanders could become president than they are that Trump could, or that he puts in a right-wing justice, or that he steals the election. To them, that is not as big a concern as just making sure progressives are stopped. And so Gore gave in.
Wow, thank you.
Wow, thank you so much. Kanoa K. And so, yeah, I think people need to understand that the Democrats always back down because they want the system to continue going. They'd rather have that than have a fight that actually reveals the internal workings of everything.
I saw a really funny tweet today that said the only way that the Democrats are going to work to stop Trump's Supreme Court pick is if it's Bernie Sanders.
It's so true. I mean, honestly, if Donald Trump put in Bernie Sanders as the Supreme Court, you would see an incredible fight put up by the Democrats.
Wouldn't that be nice? So someone was asking, I believe it was Nays, was asking how to talk to parents about the issue at hand with the the Democrats and the Republicans being the same party. I don't know. I think it depends on your parents.
Let me say something real quick. If we get $50 more in the next 5 minutes, that'll all be donated to the Julian Assange Legal Fund. Then we'll stay on an extra 10. So 5 minutes, and we'll stay on a little longer with you. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you, Jim.
Sorry, go ahead.
I had this conversation with a friend of mine who her dad is a Trump supporter down in Louisiana. And she asked me how to talk to him, and I can only speak from. So my parents are pretty left, so I've not really had this conversation with them. I mean, yeah, not really. But so I think part of the thing that we have to accept is that our relationship with our parents, not to get in the psychological weeds here, but our relationship with our parents is a bit tricky because they will always see us as their kids. So there's that power dynamic there.
Thank you, Nays.
Thank you, Nays. And so I think that's part of it. And the other thing is that we have to accept, regardless of who we're talking to, we have to, thank you, Jeff. We have to recognize that this is a slow process, right? You're not going to talk to somebody on the phone or talk to somebody in person, and then they're going to be like, holy shit, yes, capitalism is evil. And we have to, it's a slow process, right? Just like it was for you, if you were, anti-capitalist or wherever you are, it was a process. Yeah. So I think it's important that we recognize that it's about planting seeds and then helping them grow. And that one of the important things that like Fred Hampton said, theory's nice, but without action, it ain't shit. I think that is a very important thing, to do theory by doing other things, let's talk about food sovereignty by building a community garden where we farm our own vegetables, and then we can talk about the GMOs and shit like that. So I think talking about these things by doing them is super important. And that also speaks to the fact that, we say no to so much, and we should say no to things like, fracking or fascism or whatever, but we have to find the things that we're going to say yes to, because people don't just want to live in this alternative reality that is just the no. What are we pro? What are we for? And that is so much more inspiring for folks when you sit down and talk to them about hey, this is what we could build. This is what we're for. And so I think those are some powerful points that I've found work for me. Not just talking to folks in my community, but also Trump supporters.
Wow, Carlos, Dimitri, thank you.
Thank you so much.
You don't see the pair characters on this one.
I do.
No, but on that one.
Oh, it just said super sticker.
You're missing your pair characters.
I do miss the description pair character holding a number one, whatever the fuck it was.
This is jumping up and down or something.
Jumping up and down with the Björn Borg headband.
She's saying Bjorn Borg.
No, I'm not. I'm saying Björn Borg. Darn. or with the feds, that's not a name. Those are just sounds you're making.
Listen, once it becomes a global brand, you got to pronounce it the way everyone.
No, you don't. No. Don't assimilate.
Thank you, Fubar Republic.
Thank you. How do you talk to anybody that does mental and moral gymnastics to defend their historical ignorance?
I find you punch them in the nuts and then one to the chin. No, I'm kidding.
Kind of just what I said. There's and of course, like there's going to be self-preservation tactics so that people don't have to feel wrong, because it sucks to feel wrong. But even if they throw shit back at you, you might be planting a seed. And I think for me, one of the powerful things has been to watch people like Kevin.
Wow, thank you. Skin in the game.
Kevin Zeese, who never got, like, very rarely got really pissed at people, and instead just kept, making the same point with a smile on his face. And that's really helped me too. That, like, yelling at someone because they don't fucking get it is not going to, like, win anybody over. And actually, I think, like, the left has a big problem, particularly with, like, poor communities that haven't had a lot of access to education. Will talk down to them like they're fucking idiots. But the truth is that nobody needs to be told what oppression feels like. People know, they just might not be able to articulate it in, like, this fancy academic language. So instead of talking at them, listening to what they have to say, and then, having that conversation, not letting them get away with, like, racist or sexist or whatever shit, but having that conversation and not talking down to them, but continuing to make the point in as a calm way as you can. And then, of course, if they're an outright fascist, then yes, punch them. But I fully support punching Nazis.
And I have something, which is that often people, unfortunately, need to hear kind of what's in it for them. I mean, that's the cold reality of it. There are a lot of people where you can tell them, look, we're killing 1 million civilians, innocent civilians, women and children and men who have nothing to do with it. Wow, thank you so much. All the donations, all the proceeds are going to Julian Assange legal fund. And you can tell them that look, our bombs are killing these people. And they won't say what's in it for me. But at the end of the day, you're not going to change their mind, because a lot of their mind's thinking, what's in it for me? Mm-hmm. And so thank you, independentleft.news. And so I think there's a way to argue with people that is not just, what about the poor kids? What about the butterflies are dying? What about the way the cow feels just before it's executed? Those kind of things don't work for everybody. So for a lot of them, you can talk about how, look, you work in this society. You go to work, or you are a part of this society, or you help your neighbor, whether it's for pay or not, and you feed the society, and you should be paid back for it. And that's how it should work. You should have things like healthcare. You should have things like Social Security. This is not, you're not stealing from the system. We live in one of the richest countries in the world, and everyone can be housed, and everyone can be clothed and fed, and the scarcity is fake. It's a fake scarcity. So you need to explain to people that if they actually were to get people into office, and this means local office too, that demanded that a lot of these social safety net features were there, they would benefit. It's not just others, not just that poor kid under the bridge, but you yourself would benefit.
Thank you, Nick, for giving me my para-character description. Also, that para-character sounds awesome. But yeah, what was I going to say? Kind of to your point, talking, like, reconnecting people with a radical past that has been kept from us. We don't learn about our own radical history. Like the fact that May Day, May 1st, which is Labor Day around the world, is actually an American holiday. It happened in the United States. The Haymarket Affair. So, and our labor rights movement in the United States was incredibly strong, incredibly powerful. So I think reconnecting people with their radical past is really powerful, and not talking about it like it's somebody else. But for instance, like with coal miners, and I'm speaking to this because it's in my film, but with coal miners, look, your grandfather marched with a bunch of other coal miners, black, immigrant, white, whatever, marched together. And not only that, but they took up arms and they shot at coal barons to demand some basic workers' rights. That's fucking radical, is it not? And that's their history. That's the history of their place, of their people. And I think it's so important to connect people to that, because there are radical badasses in all of our histories here, wherever you're from, wherever you're, whatever industry you're in or what have you, there is radicalism there. And we should really highlight that so that people can feel connected through their own story, through their own history. So I think that's super important too.
Thank you, Stephen.
Thank you, Stephen.
We got about 10 minutes left here. As we've said, all the donations are going to the Julian Assange Legal Fund that was created by Stella Morris, his partner and the mother of his kids. So thank you so much, all you have donated. It's truly been incredible. And Assange has been, the name Assange is just, you can't even put it in a title now. I didn't put it in this title because I knew that if I did, it would be suppressed. They're hiding it from all of you. So if you guys want to learn about what's going on in Assange trial, find the good sources. I try and get them out there as much as I can, and go there every day. You have to take it upon yourself. A lot of this has to do with self-effort. You have to take it upon yourself and be like, I am going to, let's say, Consortium News or CraigMurray.org. I'm going there every morning. I'm going to see what Craig Murray, who, by the way, was a former UK ambassador who's in the courtroom. I'm going to see what Craig Murray says every day, but I'm not going to wait for Apple Phone or New York Times to feed it to me like a baby bird. I got to go there and decide I want to learn it. And unfortunately, that's the world we now live in. In an ideal place, which the internet used to be a little more ideal, these things could be posted on social media, and if they went viral, they went viral. But we don't live there anymore. You can post about Assange till you're blue in the face, and they're not going to show it to that many people. So probably half the reason we have so many people here right now is because Assange is not in the title, and they don't know that half of this has been about Assange. So also Kevin Gastola, someone mentions, another one you can go to every day.
Thank you.
And please check out my site every day. I've been posting new videos almost every single day, leecamp.com.
And just to your point, Michael, my film is called Hard Road of Hope. And you can find it at hardroadofhope.com. It's about West Virginia, about the radical history there, and about the people that are working to build a radical future. So please do check it out. Lee just put it in, hardroadofhope.com. So do check that out. And thank you again for your interest, and thanks everyone for their donations.
All right. So what shall we use the last 7 minutes for? And thank you for the donations that have been coming in. You guys are amazing.
Yes, this is awesome.
Lee, do you use cannabis at all? Just wondering. Oh, thank you, Crafty Geek.
Awesome.
I don't smoke cannabis anymore, but I have done it many times in my life, and it was never really great for me. I enjoy other ways of fucking up my mind. So. But I have no problem with it, and I fight for legalization of drugs all the time, and I do long rants about how insane it is that we lock people up for having a little piece of grass in a paper that's going to harm society. Meanwhile, people are drinking so much vodka they're puking down their shirt. That's not a problem. That's okay. Yeah. That's good society. That's a good kind of society.
And you had a great point about outlawing a plant in your stand-up, but shouldn't it be lavender then?
Oh, in my stand-up bit, I said if we're going to make a plant criminal, I want it to be fucking lavender. All right, because it's in everything now. Look, some of my stand-up bits, I forget how angry I was when I wrote them. This one sticks with me. This isn't going anywhere. We don't need lavender in soaps and sodas, and I buy a shampoo and all that reeking of lavender. I got a face mask like you'd sleep with on a plane. I was like, I'm going on a long trip. I buy this thing at the airport, put it on. It reeks of lavender. And now I'm dreaming of fucking drag shows and hopping through fields. I had to douse the thing in whiskey and gasoline just to get my dreams back on track. No, but does it all have to be lavender? Okay, you should consult us first. They should pull you aside and be like, listen, your face is going to reek of lavender. You cool with that? Make that illegal. That's all I'm saying. Why is that not criminalized? If you're going to make a plant. All right.
Strong emotions on lavender, folks. Don't get Lee lavender things for his birthday or Hanukkah.
Yeah. Where were we? Someone asked about cannabis, but we got 5 minutes left. Any other topics people want to hit on?
Mm-hmm.
Let's see what's been going on there. People excited for the debate? Oh, I know. Here's one for the last 5 minutes. What questions would you like to hear at the debate between Biden and Trump?
Oh, I already heard that climate is not going to be on the list of topics. So
Why would it? I mean, it's not important, really.
No, it's not.
The biggest state in the union, the fifth largest economy in the world's on fire. But no, why should it be?
Yeah, no, but I mean, here's the thing. I understand if you have the stomach to watch the debates because you can stomach things that I can't.
Hold on, it's not easy for me. I'm ill the whole time.
No, I'm just saying, but you can do it. I can't do it. But I'm not going to watch them because it's not a debate. Okay, it's an embarrassment to the word debate. It should really
explain how.
Thank you.
Wow, $25. Thank you.
So a debate suggests that there are two sides and they're debating concepts, theories, facts, and they're presenting, factual evidence to back up their position. They're presenting, solid and well-researched and intelligent arguments to back up their points. None of what I just said is going to happen or has happened in a debate, I'd say at least since I started watching debates when I was like fucking 12. So none of that is going to happen. So it's really not a debate. I would say that it's an elevated sandbox fight between two old, white, crotchety, racist, sexist pieces of shit.
So
that's
if
they
build it, that's what I was gonna say. If they build it as that, would it then be called CNN brings you two old white racist sexist pieces of shit going at each other in an Alzheimer's filled fun evening of fun for the whole family? Then would you be cool with it?
Yes, at least then I would, because at least then people know what they're getting, right? They know that if that's what I want to watch.
Wow, Nays, thank you.
Thank you.
All the proceeds going to Julian Assange's legal fund.
At least then you know what you're getting, right? It would be accurate advertising.
Yes, you would. Yeah, I mean, you're going to see what's going to be. Inevitably, what they'll do is, like, if you watch on CNN or MSNBC, they're going to talk about how much Trump lies, and Trump will lie. There are times where every sentence that comes out of Trump's face, it'll be 5 lies stacked on top of each other.
A lie sandwich.
A lie sandwich that you can't even get to the bottom of. But Biden will be equally lying, just in slightly different, slightly, I was going to say craftier, but he's not crafty, but his lies are going to be a little more palatable. So, like, Biden's lies will be like that we need to do something about climate change, and Trump hasn't done it, and I'll do it. And it's like, no, you fucking won't. You were vice president for 8 years, and you never said a word about climate change. Obama bragged about laying more oil pipeline than any president. And so that's Biden's lies. Trump's lies will be like, climate change isn't real, and Jesus rode around on dinosaurs, or whatever. Like, so Trump will have a bunch of, it'll be endless lying, but Biden will too. Yeah.
So, yeah, no, I'm not going to watch them. Again, if you have the stomach to watch that, the two old racist, sexist pieces of shit go at it in the sandbox, mazel tov.
Okay, we are wrapping up, but please, everybody, share this. Thank you so much for the donations to Julian Assange's legal fund. We will let you know next week how much was donated. It was clearly a lot. This is amazing. And also, please check out leecamp.com every day. I have news stories for you there. And which ones would you like to give out? Which sites?
Check out my film at hardroadofhope.com, and artkillingapathy.com is my website where you can find, links to my film and a lot of other projects that I do.
And we also have a podcast together called Common Censored. You can listen for free every week on whatever podcast platform. That's Common Censored, CENSORED. You can find that at leecamp.com. And I have another podcast called Government Secrets, which you should check out. And Eleanor's other podcast is called Act Out. Anyway, a lot of stuff going on. Just got to go to the websites, look into it. Doesn't take that long, but I think you'll like what you find. Please hit subscribe, and we'll see you probably next week.
Thank you all for all of the donations to Julian's Defense Fund. That was awesome. Thank you.
Awesome, guys. Thanks a lot. Keep fighting.